Thank you. Yeah, happy to be here. I know insurance is everybody's favorite pre-lunch topic, so it'll be riveting, but yeah, happy to be here. Grateful for the opportunity to present today, so let's dive straight into it. So what is Resolvr? We're an insurance technology company. We just don't describe ourselves as a Bitcoin company necessarily, but we unlock real-time global insurance premium settlement for everybody in the chain. I know some of you are already probably feeling like this. This is a little bit boring and dry. But we came together originally for a hackathon for Bolt Fun and then for Top Builder. We're 7 people, so we're kind of big. We're good at building. Yeah, got it. Our roster includes a lot of people who have worked in insurance technology and in legal technology with exits and everything like that. Really amazing team of engineers too who were brought together by events like this. So they are very important. But again, you might be already feeling a little bit bored and some hunger pangs for lunch. So let's get into it and talk about something a little bit more exciting than insurance. I'm going to talk to you about risk. There is no reward without risk. This is a tale as old as biology itself. You have to risk expending energy to go capture resources, and that's on a constantly shifting scale of risk and rewards, and it travels that spectrum relative to your personal needs and circumstances. So what does this mean for humans, right? Well, nothing ventured, nothing gained. This is insurance actually has its roots in ancient civilizations where merchants sought to make their fortunes on the high seas. It was a very important component of commerce even back then, even more so now. In ancient Greece, maritime trade was vital to their economy and to their empire. But it was fraught with lots of danger. Ships are vulnerable. They're vulnerable to storms. They're vulnerable to piracy. They're vulnerable to other hazards that could result in loss of cargo, mutiny, shout out. So to mitigate this risk, Greek merchants actually developed early forms of insurance for their voyages. Basically they would average out the profits from their voyages and split them. So they would pool their resources to cover any of these losses. If a ship was lost at sea, the collective pool would compensate the ship owner for the cargo. It's something that they called, basically it translates to general average, but it's one of the earliest forms of insurance, and it really laid the groundwork for the systems of the future. So fast forward to where Resolvr was last week, near Lloyd's Coffee House in London, working with some of our technical partners and early customers. Lloyd's, you might have heard of, big underwriting exchange, got started as a coffee house, formed by Edward Lloyd. It became a hub for ship owners, merchants, sailors, and these individuals would gather at the coffee house and share news, the condition of the seas, and more importantly, how to manage risk associated with their voyages. There'd be a family, the more wealthy families maybe could afford a loss at sea, but these ships were the tankers, the freight liners, the infrastructure of their day, and they were incredibly expensive. People would often risk their entire fortunes in putting them into this vessel to go have a shot to make it big. And if it came back, you did make it big. Again, risk reward. So what merchants and ship owners began doing at Lloyd's Coffee House, in the 17th century and beyond, was they would agree to bear certain financial risks of a ship's loss in exchange for a premium for taking on that risk. The underwriters would actually sign their name beneath the ship's risk descriptions, giving rise to the term underwriting. That's where it comes from. This informal agreement laid the foundation for what is now Lloyd's of London, which is an institution that it exists on a staggering scale. The numbers we're talking about here are many trillions of dollars, on the order of magnitude of global energy production in the global energy industry. We're dealing with similar numbers with insurance and risk. It really is a foundational pillar of the modern global economy. So Lloyd's developed a reputation for reliability, transparency. Some of these things should be ringing a bell to us Bitcoiners. It's not perfect, but very similar principles where brokers could arrange for insurance for these ships and cargo. But there's one big problem. We call it 180 days. So this is what a typical risk chain looks like in the world of today. We're getting into these fantastic insurance details that I'm sure you're so eager to hear. Final insured, that's you. That's the person paying the policy. The retail broker, that might be somebody you go have them quote a variety of policies, say a homeowner's policy. You get a quote from various seeding insurers who are seeding their risk to underwriters, but they're the ones writing the policy. So did you get your policy through Progressive, through State Farm? These are the seeding insurers. There are seeding insurers in the Bitcoin industry today underwriting risks for mining operations. You have director and officer risk. You have business interruption risk. What if there's a fire? What if your mining facility burns down? You have to make payroll. This is an important part of mining. So right now, these parties, the accounting between them is horrific. It's fractured, it's siloed, it lacks a single source of truth. Each one of these hops takes at least 30 days. Usually they're holding it for the float. To give you an idea of the scale of the magnitude here and how screwed up this whole thing is, Lloyd's of London, their premiums for 2022, 68% remained outstanding at the year end. 68% of the stuff they agreed to underwrite. They didn't get premiums delivered to them for 68% of the stuff that they had underwritten. That's a shortfall of over $25 billion. It's huge. Again, processing costs here, intermediary banking fees, Forex, interchanges. It's over $1 billion for Lloyd's alone in these processing costs in this chain. There is a better way, fortunately. We have Resolvr's Reinsurance Premium Manager, RPM. It enables those instant, accurate, global, and final settlement payments. It's huge. It eliminates accounts receivable and payable. Maybe ringing a bell with some of you for Synoda. If you're familiar with them, they're doing a very similar thing in the energy market. Insurance is also interesting. It's less localized than energy production. By definition, some of these risks are local. Think the weather, think geopolitical instability. Bitcoin and the Lightning Network are the perfect rails to flow this risk to other risk holders in the chain. We offer this in a way that's totally compliant, secure, regulated, automatically processes everything, eliminating friction, costs, and even conflicts that result from misunderstandings between different accounting departments. So let's see this thing. I'm gonna do my best here. I haven't tested it on this network, so we're gonna see how this goes. Let's minimize that. Okay. So we're going to play a little pretend here. I'll have to do this without mirroring, so please indulge me. So we have my cedent company over here. This would be the insurance company that writes your policy. I've already set up a contract here between an underwriting broker who's basically saying, hey, I'm underwriting your risk with this reinsurer, send me some money, right? So I've created this invoice associated with a contract. You can see I did this about an hour ago. And as the cedent, I can go in there. This is all live and not simulated, so we'll see how it goes. Should go fine. Working with some really good payment partners on this one. So I can look at the terms of this agreement. I can see a summary for this thing. I see what contract it's tied to. I see all the different line items. I'm just going to go through and accept this. And now I have an invoice that I can pay. So the way we do this is we don't pay just person to person, but we'll flow from this seeding company to all those parties in the chain, including the reinsurers, instantaneously. So let's just pull up the Lightning wallet here. Again, we're going to do this all live. So I'm going to scan. I don't know if this is Bolt 12 or not. Actually, let me refresh this because I have a feeling it's not. Okay. So right now, I'm sending Bitcoin over Lightning, but we also have the capability to do this fiat to fiat too. So anybody who's using this, they can maintain their current general ledger accounts in USD and pesos and sterling and quetzales, whatever it is, euros. Okay, so I'm gonna send this transaction just using Strike for it today. So it's, at this point in time, was 1,966 sats, but it's being split between multiple reinsurers. Let me give this a little refresh, and the invoice has been paid. We'll refresh it over here, and we can see that it's been received here too. What you can't see, and it's easier to demo this on like 5 different devices with people role-playing each party, but I also got, Aaron's just texting me now that he got an invoice received on his Stacker News wallet. That's one of them for the reinsurers. My Albi wallet's the other one, but he just slacked me that it hit. So, and he gave me an LFG. So there you go, guys. Back to the pitch.
A lot faster than 180 days.
It is a lot faster, and you know what? It's a lot cheaper too. The current transfer and Forex rates, we can just about match wholesale Forex rates, and we do each transaction for 25 bips. The SWIFT and other interbanking fees are on the order of 3 to 5% for these institutional transactions. So we're coming in over 10x less here. Pretty rad, if I don't say so myself. All right. So we just saw this. The demo was, everybody agrees, I'm sure the demo was great. The tech is cool. We're all orange pilled as hell here. There's really no need to evangelize. But when we go talk to we'll say buttoned down institutional players, we have definitely gotten out of the building and then some. Like I said, we were in London just last week meeting with these people. We hear a lot of things like, why risk changing? What about the float? Which is far less than the fees we save them, by the way. Changing a process is hard. Brokers provide very bespoke work. They don't need to be more efficient. We're happy, fat and happy as it is now. We got our intermediary brokers in the Caymans and the Bahamas literally, and they're just chilling, man. They're just being the middlemen of middlemen, and it's complicated. What can we do in the face of such a challenge? How do we take this thing on? We're talking about the reinsurance underwriting market alone, about 1.5 trillion. It'll be close to 2 trillion by 2030. Insurance as a whole, about 7 trillion today. It's going to be closer to 10 by 2030. These are massive industries. We're not the first to encounter such obstacles, though. Little more history, if you'll indulge me. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the tale, but here's an abbreviated version of it, and I beg your indulgence in the telling. So the Phrygians, part of modern-day Turkey, were without a king. As you do, you go to an oracle, and they decree that the next person to roll into this town on an ox cart, they should be king. Seems fair to me. Maybe a little too non-specific for my taste, but that's how the story goes. So a peasant farmer named Gordius drove into town in an ox cart, and he was immediately declared king. Perfect consensus, everybody. Out of gratitude, his son, actually Midas, dedicated that very same ox cart to the gods and tied it to a post in the middle of their market square. Turns out Midas was an incredibly good tire of knots. Maybe the gods helped him out, who knows? But legendary knot, the Gordian knot, was so tightly entangled, you couldn't even see where it was fastened. Every time you tried to untie it, it just got tighter and tighter, and it sat there for a very long time. This knot was very complicated. So the ox cart stood there. Then in the 4th century BC, as the story goes, Alexander the Great, here he is. He rolls into town. He's on a mission, man. And the oracles got involved again. To me, this sounds like a bit of a tourist thing, but they had another prophecy that anybody who enters this town, they will go forth to conquer Asia, basically. Seems convenient to me, but again, this is how oracles operate. So Alexander naturally wanted to go untie the knot, get the will of the people. Great. But he struggled. He struggled to do so. Very difficult knot to untie. So what did he do? He took out his sword and he cut through it in a single stroke. How do we do that? Don't untie the knot. Resolvr does not offer insurance products We don't do any broking. We don't do any underwriting. We don't negotiate anything. We don't form any contracts. We don't require any integration. We don't make you use Bitcoin. We don't make you change anything. No problems, right? We cut it with the things that we do, which is payments, and that's it. It's just instant final settlement. 180 days faster. In 180 days, let me tell you, that's like the good scenario. Usually it's a couple hundred or even over a year. You saw that almost 70% of that stuff was outstanding for Lloyd's at the end of the year. It's multi-party. You do it once, you agree on a single source of truth, you stream that stuff. It's non-custodial. It's fully compliant and insured by our payment partners. It is 10 times less expensive, and you can keep all your back office processes the way they are now. But who wants this? Who is the target market? Well, already mentioned Bitcoin miners. It's not just that they want to pay in Bitcoin, which they do, and they want to stream it to underwriters who want it in pound sterling, which they do, but Bitcoin miners, as it turns out from talking to them, they're paying 4 to 6 times the standard data center rates for equivalent coverage. So that means it's eating into their already razor-thin margins. That's extreme pain. We can do better. In fact, our first customer, they're in stealth, but will be making public announcements in mid-October, and then they'll be doing some joint press releases with us in early November, but they're going to help solve this problem with us. That's one of the places you go attack it. The other place, you saw all the crazy number of intermediary brokers. Well, it actually engenders competition. That's kind of great for us, right? There's going to be challenger brokers, as they're known. They're going to be hungry. They're going to want to innovate. A lot of them are private, maybe a little bit smaller. So again, if you can give them a strategic advantage against their competition, we think we can get traction there. So our sword, obviously, Bitcoin and the Lightning networks, keeping it simple, deepest liquidity, most secure, highest uptime digital network on the planet. We can deliver the benefits of Bitcoin and Lightning, the networks, without exposing these customers to Bitcoin and Lightning, the assets, unless, of course, that's what they want, which some of them will want. So the opportunity, we think is pretty clear. We're confident that we're going to, again, with many different partners, this is going to take a lot of people, but we're the rails of the future for this. Every 30 days to Lloyd's is worth 150 million pounds. It's crazy. The tip of the spear, like I've talked about, is proving this with crypto native customers, with these these hungry brokers, and actually in emerging markets. Just these, not the big goal. The big goal is the big players, but just these players here, that's over $1 billion in obtainable revenue in fees to Resolvr. Just that. Again, we have some ink fairly wet on the paper with our first customer, who is one such challenger broker. There's even some other much larger ones interested in a pilot, but I think it's important to focus on this challenger broker and the miners, because that's the urgent pain point. And again, press releases, joint white paper, we'll be doing a lot of data and analysis, things like that, but we expect to be flowing premiums before the end of 2024 and in the tens of millions in premiums in 2025. So that's a big deal for us. Nothing's ever done till it's done. There's a lot of work to do, but we're flowing money now, and there's no reason we can't go after this and capture it. So, again, what the heck is Resolvr? Why should you care? Instant and global premium remittances. This is getting Bitcoin and Lightning into a major industry that can, where are the institutions, right? They're like that ox, you got to kind of prod them a little bit. They're not fast to come move and change things, but we have a tip of the spear, so to speak, coming back to that we think is pretty awesome. And again, fully compliant, 10 times cheaper. Bunch of announcements coming early November, and we're also raising our seed round starting in Q4. So lots of interest there, some soft commits from different angels and VCs, but nothing official there to announce yet. But we're really bullish on the opportunity. We're bullish on how it's going to work with other players in this ecosystem, and I think even other players in this room. There's a lot of synergies between everything that we're doing. Whether it's security, whether it's AI, whether it's Lightning Network intelligence, there's amazing things going on in this room. And I think, together, we're going to do a lot. And there is a running joke, and, we all know it, right? Boating accidents happen. They can happen to anybody. It implies you can lose your keys to the uninitiated, which is a bearer asset just like physical gold. Think of the vast hordes of gold and treasure that have been claimed by the sea throughout the ages. I mean, this is cold reality. Losses can be devastating, even existential to individuals and businesses. And we can provide that infrastructure. We can mitigate this risk. It's a tremendous value with major implications for the entire economy, and we have an exciting future ahead. Definitely stay in touch if you want to reach out to us for anything. I invite you to reach out to Aaron or myself. We're a big team. It's not just Aaron and I. There's 7 of us, but go to resolvr.io, reach out, schedule a meeting with us, whether you're a customer, investor, potential business partner. We're already talking to a lot of you, but invite you to collaborate wherever you have some ideas. All right, thank you.